For decades, the Union Pacific Big Boy has been celebrated as the king of steam, famous for pounding through mountain passes with 3,600 tons in tow. But in 1941, a rival took shape in Minnesota, engineered to haul 9,000-ton iron ore trains across brutal grades. Most rail fans know Big Boy's legend, but was it really the greatest, or did the lesser-known Yellowstone quietly outperform it? The answer changes how we see American steam power forever. It starts with two giants and two very different jobs. Helper engines once crowded the tracks east of Ogden, Utah, straining to push freight trains up the steep Wasatch grade. Each trip over the mountains meant delays, crew changes, and a tangle of locomotives just to keep the railroad moving. Union Pacific's mechanical leadership saw a bottleneck threatening the entire transcontinental schedule. Otto Jabelmann, the railroad's chief mechanical engineer, issued a directive. Design a single locomotive powerful enough to pull 3,600 tons over the mountains alone, and fast enough to keep pace with wartime demand. The solution had to be more than just brute force. It needed to combine speed, reliability, and enough power to make helper engines and their logistical headaches obsolete. The challenge was not just the grade. It was about moving heavy freight across hundreds of miles without stopping for extra engines or risking lost time. Jabelmann and his team at Union Pacific worked with Alco's engineers to define the yardstick for the new locomotive. Every decision, from the length of the boiler to the size of the firebox, was measured against one goal: eliminate the Ogden bottleneck and keep freight moving at speed. The result would set a new standard for mountain railroading, built not just for power, but for the relentless pace of a railroad that refused to slow down. Iron ore poured out of Minnesota's Wasatch Range in the 1940s, feeding the American steel mills that armed a world at war. The Duluth, Missouri, and Iron Range Railroad faced a problem as heavy as the ore itself: how to move more than 9,000 tons per train from the mines to Lake Superior docks, day after day, across grades that could break lesser engines. Wartime demand pushed the railroad's mechanical officers to rethink everything about locomotive design. The answer was not speed. It was pure, relentless pulling power. Adhesion above all else. Baldwin's design crew, working under direct orders from the railroad's top brass, focused every calculation on maximizing weight on the driving wheels. They specified two 884 articulated giants with 63-inch drivers, built not for quick sprints but for unstoppable traction at low speeds. Every ton of engine weight pressed into the rails, squeezing out every last pound of tractive effort. The Yellowstones were tasked with starting and dragging ore trains that stretched for nearly 2 miles, often in the dead of Minnesota winter, where rails iced over and grades topped 2%. Mine-to-dock logistics demanded a locomotive that could start heavy trains from a standstill, crawl up brutal inclines without slipping, and do it again and again with minimal downtime. Crews remembered the Yellowstones as engines that never stalled, even when the ore surge peaked and the lines ran red-hot with traffic. The railroad's philosophy was simple: build the ultimate drag freight locomotive, one that put adhesion and brute force above all other considerations. Big Boy and the Yellowstone were born from different challenges, yet both design teams turned to similar mechanical answers when confronted with the limits of steam power. Each locomotive used a simple articulated frame, a hinge in the middle, so their immense length could snake through curves that would derail a rigid engine. This approach split the driving wheels into 2 sets, both powered by their own cylinders, all under a single massive boiler. The pivoting front engine let these giants fit on existing tracks, even as their size pushed the boundaries of what American railroads could handle. Engineers on both projects selected Walschaerts valve gear, a proven system that precisely timed steam delivery to the cylinders. This kept the engines running smoothly, even under maximum load, and made maintenance easier for shop crews. To feed their enormous appetites for coal, both locomotives relied on mechanical stokers, screw-driven conveyors that moved tons of fuel from tender to firebox without exhausting the firemen. Superheaters were standard, wringing extra energy from every pound of steam and boosting efficiency on long hauls or heavy climbs. These shared choices were not accidents. Whether the mission called for speed over the Wasatch or brute force up Minnesota's ore grades, the answer was the same: maximize adhesion, minimize breakdowns, and keep the fire burning hot. The result was two of the most advanced steam locomotives ever built, shaped by the era's best engineering minds. Their common ground set the stage for a direct comparison, not just of numbers, but of what happens when similar solutions are applied to radically different jobs. Big Boy's massive presence starts with the numbers. Locomotive 4014, as delivered, tipped the scale at 772,250 pounds for the engine alone. Coupled to its 7-axle tender, the total weight soared to just over 1.2 million pounds. The Yellowstone, though slightly lighter, was no lightweight, 699,700 pounds for the engine, with its own massive tender pushing the combined total past 1.13 million pounds. Both machines demanded the heaviest rails and bridges ever built in North America, straining track crews and infrastructure with every trip. But it is not just about weight. Tractive effort, the force a locomotive applies to start a train, defines what these giants could do. Big Boy was rated at 135,375 pounds of tractive effort, a figure that let it launch 3,600-ton freights up the Wasatch without help. The Yellowstone, built for the toughest iron ore drags, pushed even further. Its official tractive effort reached 140,000 pounds, the highest of any simple articulated steam locomotive in North America. That number was not just for show. Crews regularly started 9,000-ton trains, and wartime surges saw triple-headed Yellowstones moving up to 18,000 tons from the Minnesota mines. The secret lay in adhesion, the ability to turn weight into usable pull without slipping. The Yellowstone carried a higher percentage of its weight on the driving wheels, squeezing every pound of grip from the rails. In a straight contest of starting power, the Minnesota engine out pulled its western rival. But weight and tractive effort are only part of the story. The next measure would be what happened once these giants were rolling. Dynamometer car records tell the story of two giants with power curves as different as their home rails. Union Pacific's Big Boy, unleashed on the Wasatch, routinely delivered over 6,000 drawbar horsepower at 40 miles per hour, a figure no other steam engine in North America could touch at that speed. On a clear July morning in 1953, Big Boy number 4012 was dispatched westbound from Ogden with 62 cars, over 3,600 tons in tow. The engineer kept the throttle wide open through Echo Canyon, holding 35 miles per hour up the grade, the exhaust echoing for miles. Some crewmen still whisper about a wartime run where a Big Boy broke 85 miles per hour after a brake failure, an unverified story, but one that cemented the engine's reputation for speed and raw nerve. The Yellowstone, built for Minnesota's iron country, showed its muscle in a different arena. Its horsepower peaked lower on the speedometer, about 5,000 at 25 miles per hour, but it could hold that output while dragging 180 loaded ore cars, sometimes over 18,000 tons, upgrades topping 2%. In August 1948, DM&I RM4 No. 225 took the full train up Proctor Hill without stopping, holding 20 miles per hour on the steepest stretch. Dispatchers called it mountains in motion, a feat that left track inspectors scrambling to check for damage and crews boasting that nothing could stall a Yellowstone in full stride. Big Boy's power curve favored fast, heavy runs across the west. The Yellowstone's was all about low-speed pull, never stalling, never slipping, no matter how brutal the load. Each engine excelled in its element, one a thunderbolt on the open main line, the other a force of nature in the iron fields. For every rail fan who worships speed, there is a Minnesota old-timer who will tell you real greatness is measured in tons moved, not miles per hour. Today, both giants rest. Big Boy is restored. Yellowstone is retired. Their legacy is not just steel and horsepower, it is how engineering adapts to the needs of its time. As railroads face new challenges, automation and sustainability. The question remains, which innovations will define the next era of giants on the rails?